morning. Two nuclear-armed states, dozens of militant factions, and millions of citizens are currently staring down a highly volatile geopolitical fault line.
They certainly are.
But, the most disruptive force in South Asia this week didn't actually come from a missile silo and didn't come from a cross-border raid.
It came from 200 kilometers beneath the Earth's crust.
Exactly. We are going to examine all of it for you today. Please be advised, this broadcast is sponsored by ProWave AI, and this deep dive is generated by Stylo News, the AI-powered news application.
Right.
For the official record, here is the header for today's briefing. The South Central Asia Situation Report, Region, South Central Asia, date 17 July 2026.
And just to provide some quick context for you, the listener, Stylo News is the consumer iteration of the Stylo Intel Ops software.
Right, the enterprise version.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That platform is traditionally utilized for enterprise operations across government, military, and business sectors. So what this means is that today, you have unique access to the exact same analytical tools and intelligence frameworks that are designed to support global decision makers.
Our mission for this deep dive is clear and objective. We will cover the primary patterns of global events over the past 2 weeks in South Asia.
Yep.
We will identify the key decision makers, examine their stated perspectives, analyze the prevailing social media sentiment, and project the most likely courses of action moving forward.
And our goal here is to impartially report the facts. We will present multiple, often conflicting perspectives without bias, and critically, without generating fear.
Right, because we are dealing with complex security dynamics and clarity is paramount. So let's look at the map. The intelligence reports are flagging an elevated kinetic pattern along the Pakistan-Afghanistan border.
Yeah, and now in military speak, a kinetic pattern is really just a sterile way of saying bullets are actually flying.
Right. So what exactly triggered this current cycle of violence?
Well, the catalyst for this escalation involves two specific high-profile attacks. First, a major terrorist assault on a Rangers compound in Karachi.
Which is Pakistan's largest city and economic hub.
Exactly. And second, there was a severe attack on a police checkpost in Zierat, which is in the province of Balochistan.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that second incident resulted in 9 police personnel killed and 5 abducted. So these aren't just isolated skirmishes.
Right.
They are coordinated strikes against the state's security apparatus.
And Islamabad did not simply absorb those blows.
No, it didn't.
In response, the Pakistani government and military authorized cross-border airstrikes into Afghanistan.
Looking at the data here, the targeted areas included the Kunar, Paktika, and Paktia provinces.
Specifically around the Samkhani and Gyan sectors, right?
Yes, exactly. And if we impartially report the perspectives of the decision makers involved, Islamabad frames these strikes strictly as necessary counterterrorism operations.
Right. Their stated objective is the elimination of Tehrik-i-Taliban Pakistan, or TTP, sanctuaries. They essentially assess that these Afghan safe havens are being utilized to stage attacks directly within Pakistan.
The Afghan Taliban authorities, however, have vehemently condemned the airstrikes.
Naturally.
Their perspective frames the military action as a direct, unacceptable violation of Afghan sovereignty. If you look at their official statements, they heavily emphasize reports of civilian casualties resulting from the bombardment.
Rather than acknowledging the presence of the TTP militants.
Exactly. And concurrently, it's actually really fascinating to look at the Afghan government's domestic policy focus right now. Amidst this whole border crisis, they have implemented a widespread smartphone ban.
Okay, let's unpack this. Why a smartphone ban right in the middle of a border crisis? It sounds like an attempt to strictly control the flow of information.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is.
I mean, if civilians can't record the aftermath of airstrikes or the movement of militants, the government maintains a monopoly on the narrative, right? They're essentially enforcing ideological governance through an information blackout.
That is precisely the mechanism at play here.
Yeah.
Controlling the digital narrative is just as crucial to them as controlling the physical territory.
Makes sense.
But returning to Pakistan's physical security response, the military didn't just look outward. They launched what is designated as Operation Shaban internally.
In Balochistan.
Yes, within Balochistan, following that police post-attack we mentioned, reports indicate this involved massive ground and air operations near the Mangi Dam and surrounding mountainous areas.
Wow.
Yeah, resulting in an estimated 75 to 102 insurgent casualties.
This is where the geography really dictates the reality on the ground. It appears the border is functioning less as a boundary and more as a pressure valve, venting internal security crises outward.
That is a great way to look at it.
But help us understand the players here. You have the TTP and the Baloch Liberation Army, the BLA. How do these two distinct groups fit into this state-on-state dynamic between Pakistan and Afghanistan based on the intelligence estimates?
Well, that pressure valve analogy is really the perfect way to visualize it.
Yeah.
The TTP and the BLA are non-state actors, but they are the primary engines of this interstate friction.
Okay.
The intelligence assesses the TTP as the most immediate cross-border threat. Their ambitions are heavily ideological. And because they utilize Afghan territory for sanctuary.
Whether that's tolerated or just unpoliced, right?
Right, due to the rugged terrain of the Durand Line. Any Pakistani response to a domestic terror attack inherently risks internationalizing the conflict.
So Pakistan is forced to violate another country's airspace just to hit the people attacking its own cities. And where does the BLA come in?
The BLA operates primarily in Balochistan, and their objectives are ethno-nationalist and separatist.
Right.
Not religiously ideological like the TTP. However, their attacks fundamentally stretch Pakistan's security apparatus.
I see.
When the TTP is striking in the north and the BLA is striking in the southwest, it forces the state to project military power in multiple directions simultaneously.
So the steam builds up in the valve.
Exactly. The state has to respond both internally and across its sovereign borders, which aggressively raises the risk of rapid escalation.
And the digital environment absolutely reflects this volatility. Analyzing the social media sentiment on platforms like X, we see intense vitriolic polarization.
Oh, absolutely.
Accounts leaning toward Pakistan consistently view Afghan soil as a staging ground for proxy attacks against their state.
Essentially arguing that sovereignty is forfeited if it harbors terrorists.
Right. Conversely, international accounts and those leaning toward Afghanistan express deep concern over those sovereignty violations and the potential for a massive jihadist spillover. But what's really interesting is the consensus in the data. Despite the polarization, everyone expects continued localized border friction. No one thinks this is over.
No, definitely not. Which actually brings us to the second and arguably more globally consequential strategic diet here.
India and Pakistan.
Right. Now, it is vital to state right up front that the intelligence estimate assesses the threat of an imminent conventional war between these two nuclear-armed states as low.
But the overall strategic tension remains highly elevated, and we are tracking several key friction points that explain why.
Yes, we are.
First, there are renewed diplomatic and rhetorical disputes regarding the Indus Waters Treaty. Specifically, this focuses on dam releases into the Chenab River.
It's huge.
If you're tracking global security, water is emerging as a critical narrative flashpoint. This isn't just about drinking water, you know.
No, the Chenab feeds the agricultural backbone of the region.
Exactly. Controlling the flow of that river is an immense strategic lever. Second, there is a persistent pattern of Pakistani rhetoric accusing India of backing the very proxies destabilizing Balochistan that we just discussed.
And third, Indian officials continue to voice profound concerns regarding Pakistan-sponsored terrorism. In the analytical discourse, we are seeing frequent references to Operation Sindoor. For context, Operation Sindoor represents a historical blueprint of cross-border militant operations and intelligence maneuvering.
So when Indian officials invoke it, they are signaling a deep-seated apprehension about systemic, state-sponsored proxy warfare.
Yes, rather than just isolated militant acts.
And this geopolitical picture is further complicated by internal unrest acting as a catalyst in both nations. Because a state looking inward is a vulnerable state.
Definitely.
In Pakistan-administered Kashmir, or PUK, there are sustained, widespread protests regarding local governance and skyrocketing consumer prices. Ultimata issued by protest leaders have recently expired, which raises the immediate risk of civil confrontation.
Simultaneously, in India, chronic ethnic violence persists in the Manipur region, specifically involving the Kuki-Zo and Naga communities.
Right.
Now, while these are entirely domestic issues for both nations, they degrade state capacity. Internal instability creates vulnerabilities that adversarial nations often exploit.
Even if it is strictly rhetorical exploitation to score geopolitical points on the world stage. Examining the perspectives of the decision-makers here, India's official stance strictly denies any involvement in Pakistan's internal security incidents. New Delhi's stated focus remains on domestic economic management and the ongoing modernization of its armed forces.
Right, which notably includes their air force.
Yeah, they're strategically acquiring retired jets to maintain operational capacity and training hours without burning through the airframes of their frontline fighters.
On the other side of the border, Pakistan's stance is distinctly more threat-focused. Figures such as Defense Minister Khawaja Asif have publicly highlighted external threats,
Pointing directly to India's alleged involvement in what Islamabad categorizes as a hybrid war, right?
Yes, a combination of proxy support, economic pressure, and information operations designed to destabilize Pakistan from within.
And here's where the military hardware makes the situation incredibly delicate. We are reading about the modernization of India's theater commands and their SSBN deployments. Let's translate that for a second. An SSBN is a nuclear-powered ballistic missile submarine. It gives India a guaranteed second strike capability from the ocean deep.
Right.
Meanwhile, Pakistan maintains a stated full-spectrum deterrence posture, meaning they've developed a range of nuclear weapons, including smaller tactical nukes designed for battlefield use.
Correct.
Given the modernization of India's theater commands and Pakistan's full-spectrum deterrence posture, the structural tension is clear. But looking at the sources, what specific event would act as the actual trigger to move this from a proxy dispute to a conventional crisis?
Well, that is the critical question for global stability. The data suggests that routine force posture changes, like, deploying a submarine or heated political rhetoric, will not trigger a conventional war.
Okay, that's good.
The specific trigger event would almost certainly be a mass casualty terrorist attack within India that New Delhi definitively attributes to Pakistan-based militant networks.
Wow. Okay.
Alternatively, a significant localized military provocation along the line of control could serve as the spark, because both sides have modernized their forces to react rapidly.
India with doctrines designed to punish swiftly.
Right, and Pakistan with doctrines designed to deter with overwhelming force. The intelligence indicates that a subconventional trigger could escalate into a strategic crisis much faster than political leadership could hit the brakes and de-escalate.
That is sobering. And the social media sentiment surrounding the India-Pakistan axis is, unsurprisingly, overwhelmingly polarized. Indian-leaning accounts are utilizing hashtags to actively highlight Pakistan's internal crises in Balochistan and Po.
Frequently framing the situation as a potential state collapse.
Right. A recurring phrase popping up in this data subset is 1971 loading again. And for those who might not know, 1971 references the devastating war that resulted in the partition of Pakistan and the creation of Bangladesh.
Yeah, it's an incredibly loaded historical taunt.
It's extremely. Conversely, Pakistani accounts aggressively defend their military's posture, accusing India of waging a covert war and expressing absolute readiness for military retaliation if provoked.
And mentioning Bangladesh actually provides the perfect pivot to broaden the scope of our analysis. We have to look at regional realignment.
Right, let's do that.
The intelligence highlights a recent highly strategic visit by Bangladesh's Prime Minister Tariq Rahman to China.
Okay.
This diplomatic engagement coincides directly with Bangladesh's military modernization efforts, most notably the active negotiation to procure advanced Chinese J-10CE fighter jets.
Let's look at the Chinese perspective on these developments because Beijing is highly supportive. They officially back Pakistan's recent diplomatic mediation efforts in the Middle East, specifically regarding Iran. Furthermore, China views its deepening defense ties with Bangladesh as a natural promotion of its strategic interests and a logical continuation of its vast infrastructure investment.
The Belt and Road Initiative.
Exactly, across the region.
What is genuinely fascinating here is how the introduction of a specific piece of hardware alters the regional balance of power.
You mean the jets?
Yes, the J-10CE is a highly capable 4.5 generation fighter aircraft. In fact, it is the exact same platform recently utilized by Pakistan.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So if Dhaka acquires these jets, it inherently forces Indian defense planners to recalculate.
I bet.
Suddenly, India has to account for advanced Chinese-made combat aircraft on its eastern border with Bangladesh, not just its western border with Pakistan. It stretches India's radar and air defense requirements considerably.
Wait, hold on. While social media sentiment, particularly from accounts focused on a China-Bangladesh corridor, suggests these moves are isolating India, does the intelligence actually support the narrative of isolation, or is this standard regional balancing?
The intelligence data absolutely supports the latter. This is structural competition, not an immediate coordinated plot for isolation. Bangladesh, like many regional actors in South Asia, is simply attempting to maximize its strategic autonomy. They do that by diversifying their military and economic partnerships.
Right.
Procuring hardware from China does not inherently mean Bangladesh is cutting ties with New Delhi. However, from India's perspective, this trend requires highly careful management because it undeniably increases Beijing's footprint in a historically sensitive border region.
It's a subtle shift in the center of gravity.
Exactly.
Now, amidst all these complex military maneuverings, these proxy accusations, and the billions spent on fighter jets, we must also report on a major non-military event that profoundly impacted this entire region.
Yes.
A powerful earthquake, registering between 6.1 and 6.2 on the Richter scale, recently struck the Hindu Kush region. The tremors were immense.
They really were.
They were felt severely across Afghanistan, Pakistan, northern India, and extended all the way into Central Asian states like Tajikistan and Uzbekistan. Buildings swayed in multiple capital cities.
This natural disaster is a critical data point.
Yeah.
Perhaps the most important one of the week.
Really?
Yeah, it highlighted a shared geographical vulnerability that completely supersedes political borders and military doctrines. The event immediately drew international attention, with agencies like the Red Cross and the United Nations rapidly mobilizing to monitor humanitarian needs, particularly in the most vulnerable remote Afghan communities.
Right.
It also prompted urgent calls from the international scientific community for transnational cooperation on disaster management and seismic monitoring.
We have established the current events, the structural tensions, the hardware acquisitions, and the viewpoints of the key actors. Now we transition to the forecast.
Just do it.
Based on the synthesized intelligence estimates, what are the projections for our listeners to watch for over the next 7 to 14 days?
Well, the primary projection is definitive, and it should offer some reassurance. A general four-state conventional war involving India, Pakistan, Afghanistan, and China is highly unlikely in the near term.
That is reassuring.
Yeah. The states are simply not aligned into an active war coalition structure. The economic and political costs of a general war remain prohibitive for all actors involved.
Okay.
Instead, the most probable trajectory is a continuation of what intelligence analysts term layered instability.
Layered instability, meaning the baseline is chaotic, but managed. So what does this actually look like for the immediate future?
It means we should expect additional, localized, kinetic clashes along the Pakistan-Afghanistan border. The pressure valve will continue to vent.
Right.
We should anticipate ongoing, intense internal security operations by Pakistani forces in Balochistan and Khyber Pakhtunkhwa as they attempt to suppress the TTP and BLA.
And on the Eastern Front?
On the Eastern Front, we will likely see sustained high-level rhetorical confrontation between India and Pakistan, particularly surrounding water security in the Chenab River and mutual accusations of proxy sponsorship.
Based on these intelligence estimates, there are clear courses of action being proposed for global decision makers. The first is the active pursuit of diplomatic de-escalation channels. Both the United Nations and Russia have publicly urged immediate restraint, recognizing that even localized border skirmishes between nuclear-armed neighbors can rapidly spiral out of control due to miscalculation.
A second recommended course of action is the enhancement of international intelligence sharing.
Right.
The transnational nature of these militant networks, from the TTP operating across the Duran line to the BLA to elements operating near the Bangladesh border, it requires coordinated multi-state monitoring.
The goal is to prevent non-state actors from successfully triggering state-on-state wars.
Exactly. And finally, the intelligence heavily underscores the necessity of investing in regional disaster risk reduction.
Because of the earthquake.
Yes. As the Hindu Kush earthquake vividly demonstrated, natural disasters can instantly stress border populations, destroy infrastructure, and overwhelm governance structures.
Which severely compounds all the existing security vulnerabilities we've discussed today. As we conclude this briefing, we leave you with a final, provocative observation drawn directly from the sources. We spend so much time analyzing the intense military posturing, the deployment of nuclear submarines, the geopolitical alignments, and the deep political polarization dominating the global headlines.
We do.
Yet, it was a 6.1 magnitude earthquake originating deep beneath the Hindu Kush that served as a sudden, entirely unbiased reminder of this region's shared geographical reality and mutual, inescapable vulnerability.
That's a sobering thought.
The Earth itself does not recognize the line of control, and it does not respect the Duran line. The tectonic plates beneath South Asia are far more powerful than the statecraft above them, and a truly massive seismic event could instantly render every military doctrine in the region entirely irrelevant, forcing enemies to become neighbors overnight just to survive.
Very true.
Maintaining this objective, broad awareness is the core function of Stylo News. Stylo News is available as both a mobile and computer application. It empowers individuals to download and fully customize personal, intelligence-style briefs, drawing simultaneously from hundreds of traditional global news sources and real-time social media sentiment on X.
Yes.
For those who require AI-powered news on demand, delivered without the noise and without the bias, we highly encourage you to subscribe at www.stylonews.com. And, drop in the anchor voice for a second here. Thank you so much for tuning into this deep dive.
Yes, thank you.
We really appreciate you spending your time with us to navigate these incredibly complex global issues. If you have topics you'd love us to unpack in the future, please reach out and request them.
We love digging into the subjects you care about.
We really do. And don't forget to follow Stylo News on your favorite social media platforms to stay informed. Until next time, stay curious.